Welcome back to FTB Stoneblock 4. I'm Bumstar, and today we're gearing up for the final tier 3 quest, the Catalyst. Before we can even think about crafting the high tier items that this quest demands, we need to get our entire base ready. So in this episode, we're automating a bunch of systems we've been putting off. Extractors, crops with JustDireThings, upgrading the Unearthers, wireless power attempts, and even a brand new Dimensionalist Unearther so we can start pulling resources straight from the end. Plus, we'll take a trip to the end ring and gather everything we need to prep for this massive upgrade. So let's get into it. So I'm not quite sure where I want to start. Like I said, I've been putting off a lot of this and just kind of trying to power through and get quests done, and I'm falling behind because of it. I have a couple things that are broken now that aren't working correctly, and a few things that are just kind of rigged together and kind of working, but not really. So the first thing that we have here is our tree growth, which is completely broken because, well, our axes die and then I don't replace them, and it's just being put into a simple drawer, which is filled up but not connected to our system. Unfortunately, I think our furnace has to stay as it is for now because we can't make the factory upgrade to use power to use this until we have the next quest done. Our unearthers have been broken. The hammers stopped working, so I took them all out, which means that these are not getting any of the resources that they need. I built this over here for when we start getting into fluid cows and chickens, but I haven't started doing any of that yet either. Our power area is just kind of a giant mess that's kind of just chilling doing its thing, but it's not really doing much for us. This room looks like a disaster. And I mean, I guess this room works for now. And then lastly, we don't really have anywhere to store power. We're just using the power that we have, and then once it's full, it's just kind of sitting in the cables waiting to be used. So I think the first thing that we're going to do is create the JustDireThings hoe to start automating crop growth so we can start making some more worker tokens and just have a unlimited supply of wheat. So in order for this hoe to automatically teleport things, we need the drop teleporter upgrade, which is going to require ender pearls, amethyst shards, and some ender chests. Let's make 2 of these and make our drop teleporter, and let's go upgrade this hoe. So when you use a JustDireThings hoe, it actually turns the soil into whatever tier hoe you're using. So this is turning it into void shimmer soil, and this will automatically help grow crops. So if we take this wheat seed, we place it here, this will now cause that wheat seed to just grow a little faster. And it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it will start working. You know, I'm not really sure where this wheat is going, so let's go ahead. And what I want to do is I want to take some seeds and some wheat, and we're going to put them in one of these. And then we're going to set this hoe to this. So we right click on here, and what it should do is anything that grows from this should be auto sent into here. I think. Okay, so for some reason the JustDireThings drop teleporter doesn't seem to be working. So they're just automatically spawning and then just disappearing on me, instead of being sent to our storage controller and then pushed into here. So what we're going to try and do is we are going to get rid of this. So we're going to put our sugarcane here. We're going to break this and make the functional storage controller access point. We can't. All right, so what we're going to do instead, since we don't have any quartz, is we're going to set up our drawer here with the wheat, seeds, and sugarcane, and just have them all pushed into this. And we'll upgrade this with a void upgrade and some diamonds to make sure that we don't run out of space. And then we just will make this area bigger to encompass the entire area. So now that should all be picked up and sent there. And we should be able to just clear this area. Perfect. So since we have that set up, we will go ahead and fill this 9x9 out. And there we go. Now we have a ton of wheat growing and our sugar cane is being automated. So let's just upgrade those real quick. And there we go. Now our sugar cane, our wheat, and our seeds are upgraded. We can hold 170 million of them and it'll be voided once it's full. So we can just leave this running to get infinite wheat and sugarcane. And now that that's complete, I think our next step is going to be to automate the creation of sand, dust, and gravel. So what I have set up down here a while is all of our auto hammers that kept breaking. And what this is going to do is we're going to connect the interface to our applied energistics system by running a cable down, since we don't have access to wireless yet, and setting this up so it sends cobblestone in. And then that cobblestone will be pushed through the hammer and brought back into our system. With that being pushed into our system, we will have drawers set up that'll have all of those. And then we can use the controller access points that we have in here already to start pushing them to the unearthers. So that way we don't have to worry about this whole system breaking with the cobble gen and just have to worry about this down here. So let's go ahead and set this up. Actually, before we set this up, we are going to need to use our geologists, so these guys, to start brushing some soul sand because we are completely out of quartz. And hopefully I have quartz set up somewhere. Here we go. Going to need to take those and give them a place to live. Let's see, where's that coming out of? Right here? Guess that'll work, at least for now. And we're really lucky that they have changed applied energistics in this pack, so each cable gives you 32 channels, because yeah, we'd be running out of channels without it. Because the default is 8, and 8 is just not quite enough. We've got Network Apprentice. So now we have an interface connected to our system. And what we should be able to do is set this interface so it takes cobble. And we can set that to 64. So now it's going to take 64 cobblestone and always have 64 cobblestone kept in the buffer. And we have that infinite cobblestone cell, so we never have to worry about this running out. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take our thing here and it's going to start pushing cobblestone into all of this. And we want to set this in here with a setup of a round robin. So that way it's going to be sending it to each one. And this should be set up correctly. So then we can take, let's say we need sand, gravel, and we need dust. And we're going to need to set these up in our functional storage drawers so they have somewhere to live so we don't overflow our system. So let's do sand, gravel, and dust. And now we should just be able to take our wrench and set these to extract or pool. And these should now just automatically run and start processing all of these. So let's go take a look at our drawers here. And as you can see, they are now filling up. So now they are completely automated. They will be in here and just constantly filling up. So that way we can now use applied energistics to pump into our unearthers. And we can use applied energistics or we can use these controller access points. Either one works because we have them set in the drawers. And you can see over this little bit of time that we've had this running, we now have 411 wheat. So we have a ton of bread that we can use to start duplicating our worker tokens and really start speeding up this process. So let's head to our world engine, come over here, throw our worker token in there, and let's just start duplicating. And now that we have our worker tokens done, we're going to have 3 dimensionalists, and then we're going to be able to make 1 more of each of these, so we can have a total of 3 for each resource. And now we have 6 more worker tokens that we can use. And before we move on with that, we need to make our life a little easier, and we're going to jump in and we're going to make ourselves a mechanism jetpack. Because, well, I'm tired of not having flying. So with this jetpack, we need to come over to our electrolytic separator, and we're going to need to use hydrogen to fill this up. So we're already producing hydrogen here for our generator, but we're pretty good on everything at the moment. So we're just going to pop it in here to fill this up super quick. And now our mechanism jetpack is full of hydrogen. So we're going to throw that in here. And we now can see at the bottom left of our screen, the jetpack mode and the jetpack fuel. So we're just going to keep this on regular because, well, I don't really care about having a hover set on. But we can now fly, which means getting to certain areas is going to be a lot easier, especially when it comes to building. So keep in mind when using this jetpack that you can take fall damage. So unless you have enchants to prevent that or a specific boot like free runners from mechanism to counter that, just be careful. Ooh, and we can get a teleporter here from our wandering trader that hasn't been shutting up. So that way we can set up those teleport pads. I think we might buy those out real quick. And now that you're that might have been a little overkill, but man was he getting annoying. So we'll go ahead and set our teleporter down there for now, but we can set that up with the shards to be able to just teleport to any of those teleport pads that we found, like up here and right here, to get further and further along, so we can minimize the amount of running that we have to do. Alright, so now my plan for down here is to just set up a bunch of unearthers and just create like 2 sections of walls. So that way we can move all of these down here and kind of clean this room up and use it for something else. And there we go. We now have our room of unearthers. So then we just need to figure out where each one of these is going, and then we're going to have to run the cable up to connect them. And we will definitely be running out of channels, so we're not going to be able to fully set these up automated just yet, at least until we have our applied energistics set up a bit more, which we can't do until the next tier is finished, because we need to be able to make the ME controller, and we can't make that until we upgrade the world engine next. So for now, I'm going to place a chest down here, and we're just going to put all of our worker tokens in, except for one, because we're going to create the Dimensionalist. And to make the Dimensionalist, we are going to need a resonance engineering block. So we're going to need lead sheet metal and advanced electronic component, and we can buy these from the Echo of the Fabricator. So we're going to go buy those because we need a total of 4 of them. And then for the lead sheet metal, we just need to take our lead and turn it into plates to create lead sheet metal. And I would like to go upstairs to make sure that that exploding didn't cause any real damage. Oh, okay. We are a bit blocked up here, so I need to clean this up. Good thing we're checked. And we're going to need to go through all of this gear, and we have a ton of orange gear, which is going to be great for upgrading things in the future, but it is just completely blocking off our entire system, and I'm not sure why these aren't getting salvaged. And let's go ahead and add a tag here or armor to start voiding that, and we'll go ahead and add tools as well. So that should be able to start picking everything up and putting it back into our system, so we don't have to worry about that. But I'm curious on why these aren't going into the salvage table. Anyway, now that we got that figured out, so let's head to the Echo of the Fabricator. That's the wrong spot. And we need to buy advanced electronic components, these. So we need to buy 2 of those, 4 of those. Let's head back home and let's grab our lead plates. Get our 4 lead sheet metal, and then just 1 echo shard, and we now have our engineering block. And then for now, we're going to set this down, and we're going to call our worker token. And he is now a Dimensionalist, so we can turn him back to a token. And we're going to do this twice. And now we have 2 Dimensionalists, so we're going to set them up right here. So 1 goes in here, Another goes in here, and one of these will do a netherrack and the other one will do endstone. And from netherrack we will get sulfur, blaze powder, isnium dust, and netherite scraps. And from the endstone we will get fluorite, platinum, draconic dust, and dimensional shards. So now we need to automate those resources. And to do that, that's where we're going to start using an extractor. And to make the extractor, we are going to need aluminum, glass, kiwi, and Fortron infused ingots. And to make kiwi, we can just put a kiwi down with lava and water. And let's see, do we have any kiwi? We do not. So what we're going to have to do is use our JustDireThings goo with some skystone to create kiwi. The issue is skystone is also something that we are extremely limited on. And I think for skystone, we have 2 blocks of skystone. Now I do know somewhere that we can go get skystone, so we're gonna go see how much we can grab. Actually, before we do that, let's go get our shards right here. Go ahead and buy those shards. And we'll buy our deep shards as well. And out of all of our shards, we are going to want the Nether North. We can put the rest of these in here. And I believe if we just put that right here. There we go. We are now at the Nether North. And we don't need a shard in here to go back home because we can just use our teleport. But if you look, these are all skystone. So we're going to break them all. And now we have 33 skystone. So let's head back home and let's put a couple of these skystone around here to get some kiwi. And while we're waiting for that skystone to convert, let's take a look at what the extractor can do. So we can automate chorus fruit, amethyst, andesite, basalt, blackstone, blaze bloom soil, calcite, certus quartz, deep slate, cobbled stone, diorite, dragon eggs, dragon's breath, endstone, grains of infinity, granite, ice, kiwi, moss blocks. I mean, there are a ton of different things that we can automate through here. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to automate most of the things available to us because we may need them down the road. So it just makes sense to set this up and just passively have these items being made. And I made a mistake of using my nether hammer to get the crushed kiwi. Or to get the kiwi, so it made it into crushed kiwi. So we're gonna need to make some more. So then the last thing that we're gonna need for our extractors are these Fortron infused blocks. And to make those, we're going to need liquid Fortron pushed into our world engine with some power and some iron and platinum. Now to get platinum, that is the one thing that we don't have. So what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need platinum clusters, and that is unearthed from endstone. And we're using that dimensionalist. So we need to go get some endstone and have it be unearthed. So that way we can grab that out. Let's go ahead and find our end shards and we'll go end north. And we'll put that in our second teleporter here. And let's head there. And now we are in the end north. And obviously we were pretty close to it already. But we just need all of this endstone. And while we're here, we might as well grab some of this skystone. And to make this even easier, a small tunnel with our diamond hammer. And there is a ton of endstone, so we're gonna set that up in our pocket storage. And just start farming out some endstone by going forward. And it looks like we have hit one of our mazes, or one of our vaults, so we're just going to move around that. And as you can see, a bunch of endermen are now spawning, and we're just going to do this for a little bit until we just have plenty of endstone. And now let's head down here and let's give our dimensionalist some endstone to work through. And while we wait for these to level up so we can get the platinum ore, we're going to head back to the end and try and find some chorus fruit. Because in order to completely automate endstone, we're going to need it. We're just going to run past them because man, oh man, that hurt. think having my jetpack on has lowered my defenses quite a bit, because I don't have it upgraded to the armor jetpack. So we're going to go ahead and dig down to try and get to whatever this is. Yeah, because it looks like we got some chorus fruit down here. So let's set this to mining tunnel and just dig down. Oh, and this is Twilight Forest. Okay. It's an end dungeon. So we're just down here looking for some chorus fruit. Ooh, there's a fancy chest over here. Alright, what do we got? Diamond, sword with fire aspect and reaping, some legs, a shovel, sword, diamond helmet, grab the elixir, and nothing too great. We'll take some beetroot and some gold and iron. We're just looking for some chorus fruit or similar blocks. What are these? Pulper tiles. Lots of endermen around here. Ooh, these we get some more tiles. That looks like a little boss over there. We're gonna leave him alone. Let's try and not make any eye contact with these people, because they are scary. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Beautiful. That is exactly what I need. Pulper blocks. Got plenty of them now, so now we can automate those. So let's head back home, and we'll explore this a bit more later. Let's go check on our dimensionalists, see how they're doing. Oh, I will never get used to that. Gonna need some more endstone. And let's set this up to just be a little easier for us. Over here, we have a functional storage drawer, and then we take some pipes with our wrench. Where do we have it? Here we go. And we're just gonna go ahead and set this up right here. Put all of our endstone in there with a pipe connected to the side. And let's go ahead and grab an upgrade from our pipes as well. So that way we can set that to round robin. And then let's open this up and grab all of our endstone out. And we'll throw a quick diamond upgrade in there so we can put all of it in. And now that it's completely automated for now with all of our endstone, so that way we can just leave this running to increase the levels and eventually get our platinum. So in a normal gameplay loop with any other pack that I've played, I normally go POWAH for wireless power, because I just know it works. With this one, I was planning on going Flux because I've never used it before and it looks fun and relatively easy to set up. The issue is we need flux dust, and I have 2 flux dust that I got from chests. But in order to actually make flux dust, we have to use the world engine with some skystone and some redstone, which is easy enough and a little bit of power to make 2 flux dust. The issue is it requires us to have that ender cell nitro, and we don't have that yet, which means we have to get into POWAH anyway. So it's kind of pointless for us to use flux networks if we're gonna have to use POWAH anyway. So I think that means we're going to start setting up the POWAH setup. So in order to make an ender cell, we have to do an ender core, which is going to use an energizing orb, which to make an energizing orb, we need these 64 world engine machine blocks with some power, some heat, and then just a dielectric casing, advanced control circuit, and 4 fused quartz. And to make fused quartz, we need to use a Ender IO alloy smelter, which is going to require quartz, and we just smelt that down and it makes the fused quartz glass. Dielectric casings, we've made these before. Same thing with the advanced control circuits, super simple. So I think we're gonna start that process while we're waiting for our platinum. So let's make our alloy smelter. We're going to need a void chassis, which means we're going to need grains of infinity, and we're going to need gravel, set it on fire, or throw it into fire to make grains of infinity. So let's get a flint and steel. Let's take some of our gravel here, and let's grab a netherrack, and let's go set this up down here for now. And that was super easy. I didn't realize it would be a 1-to-1 conversion, but now we have our grains of infinity. So let's go ahead and make our alloy smelter. And I believe our alloy smelter uses power. So we'll go ahead and set that up here. And then we're going to need some type of capacitor. Couldn't remember what that was called. So we're going to need a capacitor. We'll go ahead and make that. And to make our next capacitor, we need more. So we'll just use a basic one for now. Grab our quartz. Let's see, how many of these did we need? 4. And I believe this is just going to make 1. We're actually going to need a little bit more quartz. There we go. Now we're getting our quartz. Oh, and look, now we're starting to get our platinum. Perfect. So we'll let that build up while we get our quartz out of these. So that should now be enough quartz. Go ahead and grab our advanced control circuit and our dielectric casing. And then let's make sure our energy cubes are full. Now that we have both of our energy cubes completely filled up, we're going to take those over to the world engine and we're going to attempt to make our energizing orb. So we're going to have to kind of do the same thing we did with the gas burning generator. We're going to need to get our heat kind of powered up to get this to 350 and make sure that we have enough energy. How much energy does this require? Actually, not much. It's 204. We have 250,000 in there. So realistically, we just need to power this heat generator. So we're going to pop one right here. And let's go ahead and put everything that we need in here. So that way, as soon as this is powered up, we can start pushing this in. So let's go ahead and place our other cube here. Let's make sure that this is set to output. So we can just get all of that power set into here. And this is saying it's minimal, so let me make sure that this side config is set up. It should be, that's the left, and the back should be there. Okay, so we're gonna set the back to output. So that should start powering up this resistive heater relatively quickly. And that should start pumping this up to 350. And we should be able to make this in time. And at 350 and it starts. So let's hope that it can stay there. And perfect, easy enough. And this whole setup isn't the best, obviously, but it keeps it right around that like 90 mark. So as we burn through the power, it kind of just keeps it at that 90 so we can have a starting point. And I'm sure if we put a ton of these in here, it would really help. But for now, this is good, but we'll replace it once we have some wireless power. Now that we have our advanced our energizing orb, we can start making some POWAH. So what we're gonna do is just bring this over here, and this actually doesn't need power to it, but it is going to need some things to push power to it. It doesn't accept power itself, but you have to send power to it with some energizing rods. So the first one that we're going to need is the starter, but we can upgrade right to the basic pretty quickly. And then to move on to the next one is when we need to start actually using POWAH. So we're going to go ahead and make 9 of the basic energizing rods. So the one thing that we need to do is make sure that we are automating our trees here, and to do that we can use the Celestigem axe with no power in it and it still works. We're going to go ahead and make a couple more of those, and so now we have all of that automated. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take these and make sure that all of this has a spot. So we're going to go ahead and start filling that in over here, as well as the saplings too, and the apples. So now if we take everything from this chest and come over to our storage controller, it should automatically put all of that right into our system. So now we have all of our wood available. So what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to set up a system where this is automatically going to run into a furnace and create coal, or create charcoal, without us having to worry about it. So let's go ahead and make a new furnace. So if we take our netherite furnace and let's go ahead and place that right here, put our controller access point up here, and we're going to kind of do the same thing that we did before, where we're going to have multiple cables running down. So we're going to have fuel going here, and let's go ahead and link these together. So fuel going there, and let's do our setup here. Let's clear that out with shift clicking anywhere. So the top is going to be fuel, and then the left is going to be input, and the right is going to be output. We're going to auto input. We'll keep those off for now. So we're going to set logs to the left, logs to the top, and then send the charcoal out. And then we just need to pick which log we want, and we're going to need our pipe wrench here because we're going to disconnect that, and then we're going to set this to pool. Right now it's just sending sticks and it's sending it down to the 1. So let's see, we need to go to pipes, grab a diamond upgrade and push that in there. And we're gonna set this to spruce logs and set that to round robin. So now you can see it's going to send every spruce log we have into here to make charcoal. And then we're just going to pull that back out. And now we just need a spot for charcoal. And we'll go ahead and put that right there. And now what this should do is it should just send all of our spruce logs. So let's see. It is not doing what I want it to. Auto input, we have this set to round robin. It's sending spruce logs. Do I need to change that to input and input? Am I gonna need to put another pipe down? Let's go ahead and try that. Why is this all of a sudden just not working? Oh, because I'm out of spruce logs within. So let's go ahead and go to logs. Let's grab all of our spruce out. Let's go ahead and send it all back in, and it should autofill there. And now it's just going to go through and yep, there we go. And it's just going to mass take out all of those. And then we'll go ahead and put another diamond upgrade in there just to speed up the process of it taking it all out. There we go. So now all spruce that we make is going to automatically be sent over here to turn it to charcoal, so we never have to worry about that again. So then what we need to do is we need to take all of this out and we need to break this. Let's go ahead over here, empty that all out, and now we need to take our controller access point, put it here, and to link that to our system. So now what that should do is start sending all of those logs, and everything that these make should be sent right to our system. Yep, there we go. Perfect. So now that we have charcoal completely automated, and I think if we go back to, let me set this back up this way and disconnect that. And then let's turn this back to round robin. That should just start auto splitting the two. Anytime that we get spruce, it should automatically split between the two here. So it just goes back and forth. And now let's take a look. Do we have coal? All right, we already have 543 charcoal. So now that means we can make our paste because that's what we're out of. Let's go ahead and we'll just make the easier one here. Let's make a bunch of blaze powder. Gotta go see how our quartz is coming along. 22 quartz, 47 quartz, perfect. It's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now let's make some of the upgraded ones. So we need 9 more of these. And now we're going to need 9 blocks of quartz, which we should have. Perfect. And now we just make our upgraded ones. And this just allows us to push a little more power through at a time to speed up the process. And pretty much every time that we upgrade to a new tier of items through POWAH, we want to upgrade these to the next tier to increase the speed. So let's come back over to our setup here. And eventually we will have this completely automated with a pattern provider, so we can just set it up through our auto crafting. But getting auto crafting set up right now is a little difficult. So for now, we're just doing it ourselves. So we want to take these energizing rods and we just want to place them on the power cables. Now you can use POWAH's own power cables to do this, but I find mechanisms is just fine to get started. But just as a forewarning, this does consume a lot of power. So you're going to want to make sure that your power infrastructure is set up pretty well for this. So now if we go into POWAH, we have a couple different things that we can make with this. The first thing is going to be an ender core, but then we're also going to need to make energized steel, blazing crystals, naotic crystals, spirited, and eventually nitro. So to make an ender core, we needed an eye of ender, another dielectric casing, and a tiny basic capacitor. So let's grab all of those. So we have an eye of ender, one tiny basic capacitor, and another dielectric casing. Those on our hotbar here, and just place those in here. Now all those beams shoot down and we now have our ender core. So I don't know if we're going to have the power consumption to go all the way up to spirited just yet, but we're going to go ahead and just try, because realistically we want to make ender cells, and then we also want to make ender gates. And then while we're at that, we're going to want to make the player transmitter, which is going to require a binding card. So let's go ahead and do that first. So let's see, if we want to make the spirited, we're going to need to make all the other ones. So let's go ahead and make the first one. So we need a player area pearl. which means we're going to need a basic aerial pearl, which we can buy from the Echo of the Wayfinder. So let's head over there. All right, what do you have for us? A aerial pearl. Perfect. Go ahead and place our order for that. And now we need to go find a zombie, which we could go use our player spawner or our mob spawner over here by just breaking out a piece of glass and then just spam clicking our pearl until we can find and click on a zombie here without instantly coming up. Unfortunately, there we go. Got our pearl there. Let's go back into here, grab our glass out and place that back down. Glad that that's not overflowing anymore, but now we have our player aerial pearl. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take that and make this. So we're going to need another casing, and now we make our basic player transmitter, and then let's go ahead and upgrade that. So we have our starter transmitter. So now let's make our basic. Got our starter one, and now to make our hardened one, we're going to need some energized steel, which our energized steel is just gold and iron placed into here to make energized steel. So let's go ahead and grab some gold and some iron. And like I said, we will have this completely automated at some point, but for now we're just doing it the manual way, which takes quite a bit of time. This becomes so much easier once you have auto crafting. I will say though, setting this up for auto crafting does take a little bit of maneuvering because there is no input and output on this. So you have to actually set up modular routers to make this easier. All right, so I've gone ahead and made a stack of energizing steel. It took a little bit of time, but it's fine. And now that I have that, let's go ahead and head back over to POWAH and let's make the hardened player emitter or player transmitter. Gonna need to make some more of these. Go ahead and make 2 of those, and now we have our hardened player transmitter. And since we have our hardened player transmitter, we can go ahead and make our hardened energizing rods, which are just going to require our basic with the hardened capacitors and blocks of quartz. So let's make 9 blocks of quartz. Let's go ahead and make 18 of these, and now we're going to go ahead and break all of these off, place them all into the system, and go ahead and make our hardened rods. And now if we place all of our hardened rods back down, this will now craft everything even quicker because they store more energy inside of them, which allows them to push more energy out quickly to get the job done. So now the next step is the blazing crystals, and blazing crystals are made with blaze powder or blaze rods. And now another option that you can do is the blocks, but we would need it looks like a blaze lamp, which I guess is just blaze rods all put together. So how many blaze rods do we have? Not many. So we're going to use all those, and let's see if we have enough power to do this. And it looks like we do. So we're going to make 4 blocks of this. And doing the blocks is much quicker than doing individuals because, well, you're doing 9 at a time instead of 1 at a time. So now what we can do is we can take these blocks, break them down to the individuals, and now we have 36 blazing crystals. And then we're just going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing with making the upgraded rods, as well as making the upgraded player transmitter. And actually, before we make the upgraded rods, we are going to go ahead and make the blazing ender cell. Actually, we might be able to get away with going right to diamond. So let's grab some diamonds here. And if we do a block of diamond in here, how long is this going to take? And it definitely takes a little bit of time, but we now have our block of niotic crystals, which means that we'll be able to start upgrading to the diamond tier for everything. And then since we can do that, let's go ahead and upgrade our energizing rods to blazing. And then we're going to take those and we're going to upgrade them to the diamond tier. And then we're going to upgrade them all to the spirited tier, which is emerald. So then that way, next episode, we are completely ready to get to the nitro tier. We need nether stars, we need blaze, and then just some redstone. So we're going to need to automate nether stars and blaze rods to be able to really utilize this. And so doing some quick math, we do not have enough to make the 9 energizing rods for blaze tier. So we're going to go ahead and skip that for now. But what we are going to do is continue to push these through, and we're going to make the spirited ender cell so we can start storing a ton of our power. So it'll just take a little time to push through this here. And now that we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and let's make our binding card. So we have the dimensional binding card, which is fine. So we're going to need to make a regular binding card here. Then we're going to turn this into a regular binding card. And now to make it a dimensional binding card, we need to go click this onto an enderman. And let's go ahead and put our blazing power transmitter or player transmitter right here, just so it can start filling up, because that holds 4 million FE, and realistically That's more than enough than what we need for player transmitting. So we found Enderman earlier today. So we're going to go ahead and head back to the end. And we have plenty of Enderman over here. So we can just come right down here, give you a little clicksy, run away, obviously. And let's head back home. So now if we come over here to our player transmitter and we place our dimensional binding card, which is now, we have to click it again, but is now set to us, and we put it in here, everything that requires power in our inventory is going to be filled. So as you can see, our energy cube is now being filled up. Let's see here. If we take our bow, completely filled instantly, we no longer have to worry about player power, which means we can get rid of our little pocket generator, and we are completely charged up. Anything requiring power in our inventory will be charged and ready to go. So we no longer have to worry about that, and it just makes life so much easier. Now the next major step that we're going to do with this is it's going to be our basic power in general, our wireless power through the base, so we can start getting rid of all of these energy cables running everywhere. We can just have all of that energy pumped into an ender cell and we'll be good to go. So we're going to go ahead and just make the niotic ender cell, because we really don't need the spirited right now. So let's break this all down to individuals. Let's make a niotic ender cell. And if we take this niotic ender cell and we just place that right here, and we want to make sure that we actually, let's move that away from the player charger. So let's put that right here. And as you can see, it says 0 FE and it does 100k FE a tick. So the purpose of upgrading these to the higher tiers is if we go ahead and look here, the spirited does a max output of 400k FE a tick, and then the nitro does 2 million FE a tick. And this does not generate any power. It has 0 power in it right now, but we have all these channels that we have available to us. So we can set this one, and we're just going to set this to channel 1 for now, but eventually we could set up multiples. So we could have another ender cell sucking power in on channel 2, and then have that ender cell connected to our world engine. So it'll only use the power from the second one and not the first, which was what we're going to use for pretty much everything else. Now to make this so it can hold power, we need to make some batteries. So we're going to go ahead and make a niotic battery, which means we're going to have to go through all the tiers to make this, but this can store up to 100 million FE total. So we're going to put one of those in here, and then this will now hold 100 million FE. So let's make it. So we're making our starter battery, and we're not going to put that in our inventory yet because it's going to just start using our player power. But we now have our basic. So now we need to make 2 more of these, which means we are going to need to make a basic capacitor. All right, we've got our hardened battery. Now we need to make more blaze capacitors. Got our blaze battery, and then we're going to go to niotic, and now we have our iotic battery. We're going to take that niotic battery, we're going to take it in here, and we just shift left click, and now it is placed into this, and this is now going to start filling up with power. So what we want to do is set this so all of the modes are set to receive. So no matter what we do with this, it is always going to receive power. It's never going to pull power from it with anything that's directly connected to it. So now what we want to do is we want to make the ender gates. And we're going to go ahead and make up to the niotic ender gate, which means that we need energy cables, an ender core, and some obsidian. So to make these, we just need to make some capacitors, and we're gonna need some more horizontal rods. And what we just made were the energy cables through POWAH, but we're just going to use them for the gates. So now we need to make some pearls. So we need tiny dielectric casings and our eyes of ender. And we're gonna go ahead and make 10 of these total. And now that we have our ender cores, we can go ahead and make our ender gates. All right, so for now we have 16 ender gates, which is good enough for what we need, but we just need more obsidian to really start utilizing this more. But now what we can do is we can come down here, and obviously like here, we have this whole setup with the power cable coming down here. So we're gonna go ahead and break this. And now we have our energy acceptor here. We have our ender cell, and it's starting to lose power. We can just shift right click our gate here, and it's set to channel 1, and it's receiving and extracting power from the down face, which is what's underneath. And now we have power just being sent to our AE system directly from this tiny little gate. which means we can get rid of that energy cable, which now means that we can start putting items that require power anywhere we want within our base. So like for example, right here with our lava gen, we are currently using a simple coal generator to power this, and obviously it's not really working too well. So let's go ahead and grab our entropy manipulator and let's break this, and now we can put our entropy manipulator in here, and we can just put a ender gate on this, and now this is going to work instantly. It's going to constantly be filled with power because, well, it doesn't really require much anyway. So let's go ahead and set that to 1 tick, and now as you can see, our lava is moving so fast that it's literally just flashing before our eyes. And you can see here how quickly that is filling up. So now we're just really never going to have to worry about lava. And we can do that with so many other things. So now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and see how our platinum is doing. We've got quite a bit here. So let's go ahead and Shift K all of this to turn it into the platinum chunks. So we now have 64 platinum clusters. So I would like to go ahead and, well, we're going to have to give this a compacting drawer at some point, but for now we just need to smelt this all down. So let's go ahead and place that here. Let's grab some of our charcoal and smelt that all down to our platinum ingots. And now we have 64 platinum ingots. And with those 64 platinum ingots, that now means that we can go and make our Fortron infused ingots. I mean, we could go buy them from the light vendor, but we're gonna make them. So this requires 0 heat. We just need power, Fortron, and our ingots here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a tank. And how much Fortron do we need for this? 4,000, so 4 buckets per 9. So let's go ahead and go to Fortron, and we're going to fill up this tank, which holds 16 buckets total. Oh, sorry, 32 buckets total. So with 32 buckets, we can go ahead and make 8. So we're going to need 8 platinum, and we'll just go ahead and grab a little bit of iron because, well, I don't feel like doing the math for that. Let's grab our cube. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, with the player power, we no longer have to worry about our wireless crafting terminal ever running out of power because it's just going to constantly be powered now. So now let's head to the world engine. Let's place our cube right on top to make sure this has power. There we go. And now let's go ahead and place this. Let's dump that fluid. Dump a bunch of Fortron in there. Put our platinum. There we go. So now we have some more Fortron ingots. Let's go ahead and fill this up. And now we have over a stack of our Fortron infused ingots. So now what we want to do is we want to make an extractor. We're going to go ahead and make 2 extractors right off the bat because we have some of our kiwi. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make some basics first to just kind of make sure that we never have to run out of the materials that we need for extractors. And that is going to be kiwi as our first. So this one right here. So we need a piece of kiwi with lava and water with an extractor on top to make kiwi. So we're going to utilize functional storage for all of this. Alright, and so then we're going to set up this room that we were using for the unearthers as our resource generation for our extractors. So let's go ahead and clean this up and start setting it up. I will see you in a second. Alright, so I set up this little platform here, and we're just going to line these up right along here, and we'll just slowly fill up the room with all of this. So for kiwi, we're going to put kiwi right here in the middle. We're going to put a bucket of water here and a bucket of lava there. Put our extractor on top, and when it's making these lights, that means it's working. So now we're going to take our oak drawer, and we're going to shift right click it right on top, and it's going to send all the kiwi here. Default, this is going to only hold 2K, but we're going to go ahead and max that out. So it now holds, well, I guess we really don't need maxed. So 28.3 million. And if we remove that, that's 1.2. So 2 diamond upgrades, more than enough. 1.2 million. We're never going to need more than that. Realistically, we could probably break this down to 1 for 49k because once again, we're never going to use more than 49k kiwi. But this exact setup is pretty much what we're going to do for everything else. And we should be able to put this here with our endstone on top and extractor on top of that. And there we go. So then we're just going to do that for this. And now that is at 1.2 mil because, well, we're going to be crushing this anyway with our unearther, so it's worth doing. Next up is going to be our skystone. So we're going to need 1 skystone with water underneath of it. That right there, and there we go. And now we'll have plenty of skystone. So now we have skystone, we have endstone, we have kiwi. What about some netherrack, so we're going to need gravel with 2 pools of lava. Place that here with lava on either side. Make an extractor. Place that right here. Place that on top. Put our 2 upgrades in there, and now we have netherrack. And as you can see, they're already starting to fill up. And it's not the fastest thing in the world, but you just let them go passively, and you're just gonna get a ton of these over time. And our last step then is going to grab the linking tool and the configuration tool. And let's go ahead and configure all of these and now link them to our system. So now we can access them with our importers, our exporters, our controller access points, pretty much anything that's connected to our system. These are now in there. So if we type in skystone, we now have our skystone dust. If we type in endstone, we're getting our endstone in here, and it's just going to continuously fill up. And that is just passive resources. Easy. So the only thing that we're missing now is a coarse plant. So we're going to need to find one of those. I'm assuming we're probably going to need to find the flower from a shulker. It drops. Ooh, we can actually use a bonsai pot with some endstone. Okay, perfect. That's exactly what we're going to do. Let's make a bonsai pot. Let's go ahead and set that up over here with a hopper. So why not keep it simple? Let's grab our wrench to disconnect that. Pop that there, disconnect that as well. Then we're going to put a single there, and let's go ahead and grab a new axe. Pop that axe in there. Then we just need to wait for a fruit to spawn right to our hopper here. So we have 1 fruit, 1 flower. Let's give that somewhere to live. But now that we have a flower, we can take that with an endstone. It's going to be like this. Then we just put that right here. Right? Yep. Perfect. And pop our upgrades in there. And now we have our coarse fruit being made. And I mean, we're going to have coarse fruit being made from this too. So we have double coarse fruit, which means that so we can actually remove this because we're going to link that over there. So let's go ahead and set that up real quick. So configure and link, then go ahead and put all of that in here. And let's go ahead and unlink this, unconfigure, and take all that fruit out, reconfigure and relink. So now all of our fruit will be sent over to this one. And this is exactly how you set all this up for everything that is within an extractor. So anything that you need. Amethyst, great. Andesite for building, basalt for building, blackstone, calcite. You can do Certus quartz dust through this. There's so many different options, especially for different building things. And this right here is going to be extremely useful. As soon as you get a dragon egg, you can set it up with an extractor on top of it and get more dragon eggs. And same thing with the dragon head. You set that up with an extractor and now you have dragon's breath. You can do it for grains of infinity, granite, ice. There's so many options here and it is worth setting up completely. But for now, this is what I'm going to set up. I will add more later, but these are just kind of the main ones. So that way we have netherrack, we have endstone, and we have kiwi. We have our skystone for our applied energistics, and we have our fruit for anything that we need that for. And we can then set that up as soon as we get our wireless set up through applied energistics. We can come down here to where we have all of our unearthers, set these up with import and export buses or interfaces to completely automate it by pulling those items, sending them in here, and then ripping everything out, and then just have a ton of resources just passively being made. So there's one more thing that I'd like to set up before we end this episode, and it's going to take a little bit, and it's going to cause us to have to dive into a couple different mods to get it running. But I would like to craft our loot fabricator and our simulation chamber through hostile neural networks so we can automate nether stars and blaze rods. So let's just do that. So looking at the recipe here, the simulation chamber and the loot fabricator are both made in the world engine. They just require the chronoton glass with the basic world engine machine upgrade and some power, which is all stuff that we have unlocked. We have obsidian plates. We have elite control circuits. So for the simulation chamber, we need mending and neurogel. And for the loot fabricator, we need a replicator enclosure, which is going to be purple stained glass with a replica ingot, which I think we have some, so I think we'll be good there. And we only need 1 loot fabricator, but we're going to need 2 simulation chambers. So let's take a look to see if we can make any of these now. So we definitely have some raw replica. So we're going to go ahead and craft those down in our furnace here. So now we have those. And now we just need to make some purple stained glass. All right, so that was easy enough to make that enclosure. And I've never actually played with the replication mod before. It is something that I would definitely like to get into. But for now, we just need this one piece with our obsidian plates and our elite control circuit, which let me see here. All right, yep, and we have plenty of those. We're actually going to need that third one too. And do we have our obsidian plates in here? We do. We have some obsidian and obsidian plates. So I believe we're going to need 4 per, means we're going to need 12, which means I'm going to need to smelt a single obsidian down. And there we go. We have our 12 obsidian plates. So now all we're missing is the mending neurogel. So let's figure out how we make that. I don't think we can make a blob of neurogel from anything, so we need to make the actual mending, and we're going to need 2 of these. So it looks like we're going to need to make the molecular metamorpher, which seems to be a lot of different things. So let's take a look. Cognitive crystals, which means we're going to need to make these, which means we need cognitive flux, which is made here. So let's make a bunch of these. Make 64 and grab some coal. Go smelt this down. And cognition is also a mod that I have never played with before, so this is all new to me. So now we need to make some astute assemblies, which is going to be cognitive alloys, which that's easy enough. So we can make a bunch of those. So how many of those do we need for that? 6 per for 2, and we need 2 of them. So let's go ahead and put those in here and make those. Okay, so we have the alloy. Now we're going to need 1 of those. But we're actually going to need 3 more of those as well. Okay, so now we have our 2 astute assemblies. So now we're just missing a smithing table and the accelerator here. So here's a smithing table. And then for our accelerator, easy enough. We got 4 of those now. And we need to make 1 more of these. And we now have our molecular metamorpher. And it looks like this uses experience. So I think we're going to need to set that up over here with our experience holder. Because, well, we have plenty of experience. So let's just drop all of our experience off here. And let's see, are there any quests here? That's actually additions. Okay, here we are. Cognition is a mod that expands on the use, storage, and production of experience. To get started on this mod, there will be a few entry-level materials that will be easier to make once a few of the devices are set up, and we'll provide some extra. A molecular metamorpher is a device that uses experience from a bound obelisk to infuse materials. This can make certain recipes for the mod cheaper, but is also a required method of crafting for some of Cognitive's resources. This is further expanded on with a transforming focus, converting various vanilla items into niche variants. All experience levels listed in the crafting use point values will not take any more experience levels than needed. Item slots should also be locked to enable external automation. Okay, so we just got some blobs from this, which is exactly what we needed. How many? Just from making this in that quest, we now have enough to do what we need to do. But since through our quest, by just making the molecular metamorpher, we got the mending neurogel that we needed. We actually don't need to dive any further into cognition to make what we need. And we'll definitely dive into that mod another day. But for now, I want to get these simulation chambers set up. And we're going to go ahead and make our simulation chamber 1, make our simulation chamber number 2. Then as soon as those are done, we're going to make our loot fabricator. And there we go. And now, if you remember, when we were looking at killing the wither, I went ahead and made a basic data model for it. So we already have the wither. So the only other thing that we need to do now is go kill some blazes. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, there we go. Hit that, put that in our data model. And now we just need to kill 6 of them. Perfect. Okay, and yeah. Evasion is screwing us again. Come back in here. Alright, let's check, and we're already at a basic model, so let's go ahead and kill 2 more to upgrade. And I think we are good to go. Yep, we're at an advanced model now. So now we can set up our loot fabricator and our simulation chambers. And just a heads up, these are going to consume a ton of power, and we can set these up to automatically be set up through modular routers with applied energistics. But once again, we don't have any of those set up right now, so we're not going to. We're just going to manually do this. But for now, what we can do is we can place our simulation chamber here and another one here, and then put our loot fabricator here. And we're going to want to take our ender gates and give them all power. And then let's take our wither data model and our blaze data model. We're going to put blaze data into this one, and we'll put our wither data model into this one. And then all we need to do is make some prediction matrices. We'll make a stack of each, and we'll just place them in here. Every time that these fail or just run in general, we'll get a generalized nether prediction or a generalized ender prediction, depending on what models you have in here. And those can be used for quite a few different things. So the nether ones, you can use those with a bone to make a blaze rod, or endstone to make the ender predictions. And same thing with the ender one, you can make ender pearls, you can make chorus fruit and stone. So you could set these up to be just completely pushed into other things. But when they run successfully, you will get a prediction. So for this one, we got a blaze prediction. We haven't gotten any wither yet, so we take that blaze prediction and then we put it in our loot fabricator, and then it gives us an option. And for this, our only option is blaze rods, which is fine because that's all we need. So then we get our blaze rods here, and then for this one with our wither, the only option we're going to have is nether stars. But as you can see, this is a very easily automatable. You could use pipes to just send them directly up here automatically, and then just have this piped out. But the big thing you have to keep in mind is just constantly filling with prediction matrices. But once we have our AE wireless and some modular routers set up, I will 100% show you how to completely automate this so we don't have to worry about it. Alright, and that is going to wrap up episode 13. We really pushed our base forward today. Well, it's not super pretty, but it's getting the job done. We got more automation online with extractors, brought some wireless power into the mix, expanded our Unearther setup, boosted crop growth with JustDireThings, grabbed resources from the endering, and we even set up our Dimensionalist Unearther to start bringing in those hard to get materials. On top of all that, we now have our simulation chambers and loot fabricator running, pumping out blaze rods and nether stars completely automatically, which means we are officially ready to take on the final tier 3 quest, the Catalyst, in the next episode. If you enjoyed the video, please consider dropping a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing so you don't miss what's coming. And don't forget, the community Discord is now live, so if you want to hang out, talk mods, or just join in as we plan a future community server, the link's in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.